This is the Infinity Summit Group. Truth, passion, success.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Infinity Summit Group podcast. Today is June 13th, 2022, and this is another episode in our series where we are interviewing our guests approximately 1 year after they've been on our podcast. And today we have Moroni Kelsch on. Everybody introduce yourselves. I'm Noah.
Xavier.
Logan.
Jesse.
And we got our special guest Mo on today.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
So Mo, last time we were talking, you were into coins, you were into trading cards, you were doing all this cool shit. Tell us about that. How has that been going?
It's funny because the last time I was on here, I remember I actually re-listened to it. I got an update on my phone the other day that was saying Hiram had come back for his 1 year anniversary. So I saw that. So I started listening to more of the
Like, crap, I'm sued.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I actually just got interested in it again. I hadn't listened to mine at all since then. So this was just a couple weeks ago. I'm like, fuck it. I'm just gonna listen to it. If I absolutely hate it in the first 5 minutes, I'll just turn it off and just mark it up as a loss, whatever. I listened to it. I didn't really think it was as bad as I thought it was going to be, so I ended up listening to the whole thing.
Good.
And it was kind of good because it let me know some of the stuff we talked about. Because I remember when we last talked, what I was saying is I pretty much just hedged all my money into Jordan Love. I don't know if you guys remember that.
I was curious how that
Okay,
went.
yeah. So it's not a loss yet, but
Okay.
I'm not relying on it at all anymore. I would say there's probably like a 5% chance that succeeds at this point, whereas the last time I was here, maybe I would have said there was like a 70 or 80, you know what I mean? Or maybe less than that, but so I pretty much dumped all my money into cards and to Jordan Love, all my savings money, played that out for a while. Aaron Rodgers last year, if you guys follow, I don't know if you guys are too familiar. Okay, so they ended up losing to the 49ers. He didn't make it to the Super Bowl. And I think if he would have made it to the Super Bowl, he might have retired. But since he didn't, he still wants to chase that second ring. So he signed like a 3-year extension to his deal. Now Jordan Love has to sit for that much longer. So it just how it played out, it didn't work out for me. So I realized that and kind of went back into coins. I'm like, all right, I need to get back more into the money-making phase and not investing. So that happened, I would say, November 1st is when I started setting my goals again. Like, hey, I'm going to try to shoot for $10,000 in sales on eBay every month. Because before, a lot of my sales was coming from Great Collections and Auction House and eBay, like 50-50. I'm like, I want to try to push more for eBay sales and still keep the Great Collection going. So I started doing that, selling off a lot of my collection, basically, that I built up with coins, and then reinvesting that into coins, into new coins, because just like anything, when you buy a pack of cards, you do have a chance to hit the right card. If you hit the right card, you get the money. The cool thing with coins is because I've been doing it for so long, there's actually very little risk. Because if I buy at the right price and I don't get what I want out of the proof set, then I can just turn around, put that proof set on my eBay, sometimes get more out of it because I've done this so long that I can take better photos or whatever of the coins, whatever. And so there, with eBay, there's like a 12% fee. You have shipping. So let's just say 15% is, in essence, the most I should be able to lose on something, whereas I can sometimes 10x my money. You know what I mean? If I'm lucky.
Yeah.
So I started back in November setting goals. It's been good since then. I've just been trying to build up the income again. It's been kind of hard to set aside savings because, like I was saying, I'm in the process of getting the home. So I've been paying for appraisals, earnest money, closing costs, all that stuff.
Down payment, all that jazz.
Yeah. Luckily, since I'm in a rural area, I went with the USDA. So I didn't have to come up with the 3.5% down or 20% down, which it's a double-edged sword. That means I have no equity in the home, and if we're going into harsh times with the economy, then that's not good. But my payment will be like $1,500 a month at the price I got the home, and the interest rate it was $245,000 for the home. It's in the middle of nowhere.
How big is the home?
It's just over 2,000 square feet. Has a 2-car garage attached to it. And it's pretty nice, but it's in Orangeville. Population is 1,000, 2.5 hours away. But I figured, look, even if we're going into an economic recession, depression, whatever, rent around here, if I wanted to stay in this area for 3 bedrooms or whatever, for 3, I have 3 kids now, me and my wife, so there's 5 of us. Mm-hmm. If I wanted some place that could fit all of us, I'm looking at $1,800, I feel like, a month. You know what I mean?
On the low end, yeah.
On the low end. And so I can go 2.5 hours away, get a home, start building equity, and my payment's $1,500. So in a way, I kind of look at it as less risk if we're going into, because I'm building equity and my payment should be at very worst the same it would be here. You know what I mean? So
that's smart.
Yeah.
And with the business you're growing with your coins, you can do that remotely.
I can do that anywhere. All I need is eBay, post office, and I check that they have one, so we're fine with all that.
How's the internet out there?
Yeah.
Starlink coming soon.
I hope it's good. I talked to Jen, Lock State in London. London's mom, Jen, she lives out like in the middle of nowhere.
Is it out over there?
It's not over there, but they have a certain internet now for like rural areas. And I talked to her. I was texting, and she was saying that her internet is actually really good out there. I think they've kind of fixed that for the communities out there.
Like satellite internet.
Something. It was called Strata, so probably satellite.
Cool.
Is that the only people out there that are kind of close to there?
Oh man, they're actually more rural, but they're still far away. I think they're a couple hours away from us because to get to my house, you head to Price, which is southeast, and then 30 minutes south of that. Whereas like Roosevelt and where some of the other family is more like east from here. So we're pretty far from I don't know anyone in the area that we're at. We're closer to the Rock, but we're still 3 hours away from there.
So a fresh start, pretty much, just like
it'll be.
That's sweet.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
It's an
I hope.
Adventure.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll take longer than this, but our plan is, unless an economic crash comes and just tanks the Utah market, which even if a crash comes or a recession, I just don't see the Utah market tanking 50-70% to where, you know what I mean, where I could jump in and get stuff at a steal like that. So
I could.
You think it could crash that much?
Oh yeah.
Really? I hope it does. I hope that.
Well, I think where you're gonna live in the more rural areas versus in the valley or anywhere that's super populated is gonna be rather recession resistant.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if homes started coming back down to their
no
true
more
value.
$1 million
Really?
houses on 7,300.
Yeah.
The one on our road is going for $1.4 million.
Yeah.
It's a flipping nice house, but there's no way that's worth $1.4 million.
No. I hope that they come down a bunch, and then maybe we could buy back into the valley. How I'm playing it out in my head, because I don't know too much about the real estate market, is go to this home, start saving, focus on the coins for a while. I did the card thing. That was really fun. I still have the Jordan Love investment in my back pocket. I'm not selling them. We'll sit on them, see what happens. So, and start saving money, and then hopefully, if a recession doesn't come and the houses don't absolutely crash, what is our generation going to do? Seriously. I mean, I know people who are making good money. It's not just insane money, but $100K a year around there who are having a hard time getting a home around this area. In fact, they're not getting a home around this area. So I'm not making that much money by any means. And there's a lot of other people who aren't making that much money, people that work at fashion, a lot of those people that are our age, unless they get into some different industry, they're going to end up, in my opinion, have to move out, or you're going to rent your whole life. You pick, you know?
You're going to end up unemployed, most of them.
That's my concern. I actually am really concerned about that. I'm concerned for fashion. Think about this. Unless the recession comes, like you're saying, and knocks all the houses down, which maybe that's more than likely going to happen. The reason I could see it not happening, though, and we've talked about this, I think, on the last podcast, maybe I'm wrong, but
Can I insert something real quick?
What's that?
We are in a recession.
Okay.
It was released the other day. We are now in a recession.
Okay, we're in a recession, but I guess a housing market crash.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, so if a housing market crash does not happen, how are people at fashion going to afford homes around here? Not like the good workers, the older guys, the guys that are making 80, 90, 100,000 a year, their kids that are coming in making 70 and they move up to 80, 90, how are they going to afford homes around here?
I'm out of here.
They
There's
won't.
no way.
There's no way.
Not unless I'm making $1 million a year. There's no way I'm affording a house in Harriman.
No, there's not. And so my concern, I can see it going two ways, I guess. Like fashion failed. I doubt that's an option really. Or the other option is maybe they have to really lean up their positions, and instead of having 150 people, they have 70 people or 50 or whatever, and they pay those people much more, and they have to push out a lot more.
So my dad actually experienced the '08 economic recession.
Okay.
While he was at Fashion, and what they ended up doing was massive layoffs, hour cuts, wage cuts, even for the people who got to stay.
Gotcha.
So my advice to the listeners is live on 50% or less of your income, because when it gets lean, if you keep your job, then you're going to be tight.
Yeah. It's scary, man. It's
Yeah.
scary. I feel like we're coming up into this next recession crash, and I'm at least at the position where there's a lot more risk. I mean, 2008, I was just a kid. It was all on my dad and the families and whatnot.
Yeah.
But now I got 3 kids, got a wife. In my opinion, had to get a home, or the other option was rent for more. And it is scary. I don't know. I've never been through a recession, so I don't know what the coin market does. I want to hope, because most of my money that I make comes off top pop coins, which are extremely rare, scarce, high value coins. That's where most of my money is made. The other stuff is more the generic, just kind of, it's pretty much a wash. I make most of my money off the big time coins, and the big time coins, in my opinion, the people buying those coins are very wealthy people, and they can afford to continue to buy those coins during a recession. That's my theory. I don't know if that's accurate at all.
So you guys watch as we go into this recession and very potentially depression. A lot of these people who you think are wealthy, a lot of their wealth is built on debt with no reserves. And so you may see some empires crumbling.
Yeah.
Everybody and their dog is a real estate investor right now, and I mean, including me.
Yeah.
And you're going to see heads roll.
I do believe that.
Because it happened in '08 too.
Yep. Do you
Same
think it'll
thing.
be worse than '08?
Yes. I don't know about in the housing market particularly,
Uh-huh.
but as far as the economy as a whole, absolutely.
I believe that.
So
Just because we're in that much more debt, or
Yeah, so we're in that much
Inflation
more
as well.
debt. Our inflation is worse than it's been in 40 years. You know,
Since
it's,
World War II, I think
it's
they
looking
said.
very
really,
similar to
it's
the
been this
30s.
bad though. That's
Yeah.
good news. We made it.
Right. And I would not be surprised if we were experiencing hyperinflation of some sort, like 10% plus.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they say it's 8%, but that's not real. Like
8.6% was
Yeah.
the official number. What's actually been happening is our gas almost tripled in price, so that's 300% there. Our housing has doubled in price, at least 200%, and our groceries have 30 to 50% increase.
Probably double.
Probably
I buy
double.
groceries, and I mean milk's $4 a gallon now.
Yeah,
It was closer to $2 before all this.
there you go.
Yep.
So actual inflation rates are about 200%,
Yep.
not 8.6.
Yeah. It's mind-boggling that it's allowed. That it really is. Like I've been thinking about that a lot lately. That they're actually just getting away with reporting stats and things like that. Just lying to the people, the news outlets and everything. I think. Okay, not to go on too long of a rant, but there was a guy on Joe Rogan. I can't remember his name, and he was talking about how. Maybe I brought this up on the last podcast where they came out with the Bible. So back in the day, people couldn't read or they didn't have access to a Bible. So at first the Bible spread good, and then after the wealthy or the popes or whatever started getting their hands on it, they would read the Bible and they would interpret how they wanted it to be interpreted to the people, and they would tell the people, it said this in the Bible, and they didn't have one for themselves to go read. And what ended up happening is the printing press came out. Then everyone had access to the Bible. Your average Joe started reading the Bible, and hey, what the hell? That's not actually what it said right there. And so they're according to the guy on Joe Rogan, there was like a 20-30 year war over that problem in the culture that they had lied to, and the powers and everything that be. And I actually believe the exact same thing is happening right now with the internet. I think that social media came out, the internet came out. I kind of hate to believe this, but I believe these people in power have had power for quite a long time. And the internet is exposing their power, and things that they used to be able to get away with. Now one person with a camera can put it out and get it to thousands, millions of people. And so it's stripping the power from them. And the funny thing about this is when power is being stripped from powerful people, instead of being cutting edge or whatever and go on to the next thing, they polarize and they pull back and they try to maintain their power. And you've seen this with like CNN and Fox. Like maybe even if 40 years ago, maybe they were actually pretty good. Maybe 20 years ago, they were still pretty good. And then just recently when social media came, they like polarized to where it's just blatantly obvious they're just lying. And maybe they weren't that bad 15 years ago, but with the power shifting, they probably polarized.
I don't think so. In 2016, you seen Hillary Clinton on the train or whatever when she was being a president, trying to be the president. She would talk in an accent in different states.
Really?
Yeah, because back in the day, no cameras, so no one knew that they were trying to sound like the people there.
Gotcha.
So they changed their accent depending on where they were.
Okay.
And then people were recording it like, are you serious? Like,
Yeah.
you're stupid.
Oh my gosh.
Like you can't record that and see that you're blatantly lying to everybody that you're like them.
Yeah.
Well, I think everybody knows they're lying now. Like, everybody that I talk to now is like, yeah, I don't fucking watch the news. It's all bullshit.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, it's true.
It is true.
You know, nobody knows what to believe anymore.
You know what the problem is we started getting AIs that learn, and their ultimate goal is not for truth. Their ultimate goal is more clicks and more screen time, right? And so as the AI learns, it's like, oh, okay, this person prefers this news, and so that's what I'm going to feed them. And as you do that, you had people that were fairly centered, and then they slowly drift further apart, and the news is now lying to them based on an algorithm.
I do believe that, and I watched
part
the
of the problem.
Social Dilemma, which like explained a
Yes.
lot of that. Yeah, that was amazing. It was scary and it was amazing. And I do believe all that, and I still think, like I was saying earlier, I think that there even is more malevolence than that at this point. It's not just an AI algorithm anymore. I think that there's people consciously pushing propaganda, a narrative. They're trying to maintain power. I saw this with my own when the GameStop thing happened, when everyone was buying GameStop because the hedge funds were shorting it and they were making all this money, and it was completely screwing over the hedge fund. Robinhood, we all remember, just the day just completely stopped allowing you to buy or sell or trade it or whatever, which it was like getting huge right at that point. It was getting where everybody was getting into it, and then all of a sudden that next day or whatever, it just cut off and no one could buy or sell it. I specifically remember following that 100,000 one-star reviews were left on Robinhood. I'd seen it with my own eyes on Google Play Store. And then a few hours later, Google went in and just deleted all of them. They're not there still to this day. And it was because they said it was some part of a disclaimer or something where if it was like bad mouthed on a company and people left reviews because of that, they can go in and delete them. I've seen that. I saw what happened in Canada with the truckers, with Trudeau, with the freezing the accounts, and the people who, this just blows my mind that this happened, that they tried to send money through the GoFundMe, and that the Canadian powers that be, government, whatever, shut it down. So they raised money through that Christian fundraiser, and the Christian fundraiser was told by the Canadian government, you can't give this money to the people, and the Christian fundraiser, to their credit, said, no, we're going to do it anyway. So they went ahead to go give the truckers the money. The truckers' money's bank accounts got frozen and whatnot. That happened. But also what happened is, for one day, because I was watching this on Twitter, when people would click on the link or go to the website for the Christian fundraiser, it was hacked, and so it would send you to a YouTube video of Frozen, like Frozen the Disney show, their music in the background playing, while they had a list on the screen on this YouTube video of everyone that donated, the amount that they donated, and their name. This happened. This is not, I see this with my own eyes, you know? And they allowed that to happen. It's just too many things at this point where you're like, something's fucking wrong. There is people in power allowing this or pushing it. It's not for the people, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hasn't been for the people since 1913 when the Federal Reserve was created.
Yeah.
Wasn't it 1913?
Yes.
I think so.
Right after World War I or right during or something. It was real close.
Anyway, right around then.
Have you ever read The Creature from Jekyll Island?
I haven't.
It's a way good book. It's
Is it?
crazy.
So,
Scary as fuck.
A bunch of
Is
big, a bunch of big private banks conglomerated themselves together and called themselves the Federal Reserve so that the government would adopt them. And
So it's
they
not
did.
a government institution.
It's
Okay,
not. It's
I
private.
did know that.
It's absolutely private. And so it's no wonder they give bailouts all the time to their
Mhm.
buddies.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, via the government's consent. But that's what they did, and since then, we got taken off the gold standard in '71 with Nixon, and it's just gone downhill.
It's just terrible. It really is sad because from what our founding fathers have done, from what they sacrificed their lives and everything, and I do believe to some degree this is human condition. It just happens over and over again through societies. Doesn't mean that we can't stop it, but I think if there's not enough people opposing it at all times through every generation, it will happen over and over. And that's what's starting to make me believe that there is a devil. Why? Like, it's a real. I'm not saying I do believe or I don't, but why? I feel like I'm more inclined to be like, yeah, there's a God, there's a creator. There's something, whether, I don't know what he looks like, how that all operates. But then when it came to the devil, I'm like, I don't know that. I don't know what that is. But seeing all these things, then my wife and I, because of all this, we started doing more research. We started reading more books, started reading Holocaust books and things like that. And just, it's just over and over. There's some force of evil that comes into society, economy, humans, individuals, over and over repeatedly. And if it's not combated at all times by good people, then it will overrule, and then the evil will win, and then the good have to come back and win, and then it's just over and over.
How do you get heroes?
I don't know.
You have to have
someone who fights
yeah.
against the bad, right?
Yeah.
And how do you get villains?
Someone that fights against the good.
Correct.
But why does there have to be villains?
How does our brain process?
Um,
How does it know dark from light without one or the other?
Yeah, I get that. You have to know the bitter to know the sweet.
Correct. So the duality of the human mind, good and evil, dark and light, all of these things, it's like, okay, there's where your heaven and hell come from,
Yeah.
first of all. And then second of all, that's where your good and evil come from in the world, because you get to see evil to know how good is.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say this. Okay, so let's just say you believe in... Okay, let's just say me, for example. I'm not 100% on this, but right now I'm leaning more towards evolution because it makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know about, like, coming from microorganisms. I don't know. I'm just looking at it. Let's just say we play out the evolutionary process, which doesn't really make sense to me in that sense. Where does good and evil come from in an evolutionary process?
Your consciousness?
But why is there a need for consciousness?
There's not necessarily.
Yeah.
So all animals, all beings have a consciousness. Humans just happen to have the most adaptable consciousness. I wouldn't say the most advanced. I don't know.
So what I'm hearing you saying is, like, if you know, like, if there is a God and the devil, then it makes sense for there to be good and evil. But
Yeah.
if we just kind of came out of a speck of dust, like out of nowhere,
Yeah.
then why does there need to be good and evil?
Exactly. That was it, because he was saying we have to know the bitter to know the sweet. But if we did just come out of a speck of dust, the Big Bang Theory, where did this come from? Because we were adapted.
Yeah, because if you were evolving to be the best you could, where does right and wrong come into that?
No, you
right?
wouldn't need that.
No.
You wouldn't think. You would just need dominance and power. That's it. But then maybe
You
the
just
argument.
said it.
Well, but maybe the argument then is, I have heard this, that tyrannical leaders, as they get older, their biggest fear is their own group of people that they're in. So maybe evolutionary, the argument was the tyrannical leaders led for thousands of years and kept killing themselves off from the inside. And so then consciousness said, what if I give more than I take? And like over evolution, the human learned that giving was more rewarding than taking. But even at that, and that could be it, even at that, why is there such a deep religious experience with psychedelic mushrooms? Why is there this inherent feeling that you matter at each individual person. Why is that? Is that benefit? Animals don't have that, and they came through the same evolutionary process. Maybe they do, but it doesn't seem that they do. I have had chickens growing up, and they don't give a shit. You know what I mean?
Humans are the only like beings on the planet that we know of, obviously, that can like do things that are not in their own benefit.
Yeah.
Like actually like destroy their life. Like you don't see a fucking deer committing suicide on purpose.
Yeah.
Well, right, like
Yeah.
bobcats and stuff. If they
Yes,
want to
you
eat
do.
something,
Animals commit suicide
they
all the
can't-
time.
Not on purpose though.
Yes, they do.
do they?
Dude, I've heard countless stories of animals. They get sad, they fucking hate life, whatever, and they'll go off themselves.
I've never heard of that.
I've
but
heard of
that's
animals
interesting.
dying from sadness. I don't know if I've. Well, like I think I've heard of
They
the
will
orcas
suicide.
in the aquariums or whatever that they were in. I know they got real sad and their flips didn't. And like dolphins, I think if they have their heart broken, they can die or something. How do they off themselves? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good point. It is a good point.
I don't know, eat something poisonous.
First
I
time
mean,
I've heard of this. So.
how many ways do humans do it, you know?
Yeah.
There's countless ways.
Well, I do know in the Jordan Peterson biblical series, he talks about the rats and how if they're not played with, and they started taking the eraser and tickling them, and then they couldn't hear with their ears, but they took the certain receptors and they could hear the laughing rats. And he said that just like baby humans, baby rats, if they're not played with, they will just die. They will die if they're not played with. So maybe you're right. Maybe all animals have it. Maybe all life does. But even at that argument, let me play this out. If we came from evolution, a Big Bang, why are we so far advanced from anything else on this earth? Because the argument, oh, there's alien life, okay, that's a different argument. But on our own life, why is there nothing else even close? It's not even close.
The one word that I said earlier is we have an adaptable consciousness.
Yeah.
We're very adaptable.
But why are we the
But
only?
why we are the only ones? That doesn't
That
make
I
any
don't know.
sense.
Just so happens to be that we may be the first ones on the earth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily the only ones. I mean, they've got apes spearfishing now. So
Yes, they
beware
started
of that.
copying humans in like Africa.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy.
Really?
So we ain't the only ones, but we just might be the first.
Yeah, but that argument, I'm not saying it's invalid, but just looking at it, it seems, I'd want to see the research on that because I'm like, that far difference? I mean, it's just not even close. It's not even close.
Also, what's to say like with the monkeys that they're just not copying us? Like how long would it have taken them naturally to learn? Like where would they even get the idea to spearfish?
Yeah,
Like that doesn't make any sense.
yeah,
Like why would you think I'm going to throw a stick at something in the water unless you've seen people doing it and it worked?
yeah.
Well, how did we think of it?
I don't know.
Someone
So I'm
had
saying
it.
someone probably dropped something is what happened. And then it killed
So-
the fish. and
No,
then they were like, "Yeah."
I could see that.
Right?
Drop some like a big log in the water and like, damn, that goes home.
Yeah,
So with evolution, it's all about progression, right?
yeah,
So we just happen to progress first or fastest or something on that. Back to the good and evil. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, right?
yeah,
So each of these leaders, each of these terrible leaders think they're doing the right thing, whether it be for themselves, their family, the world as a whole. Because the World Economic Forum is like, yes, we want one world. This is the idea, right? There's you will own nothing and you will be happy.
I know,
We'll make
I've
the
heard
human
that.
race happy. And it's like, ooh, okay. You forget about the individual, which is the ultimate form of being and value, right?
yeah, yeah.
And-
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. And then secondly, because we are on a path of eternal progression, whether it be evolution or your soul just progressing through the ages, whatever you might believe, how do you progress? You learn. And how do you learn? By making mistakes, by seeing mistakes, by having that good and evil, and being able to choose, right? So with that, that's how you progress, and that would be one good reason to have the duality of good and evil, besides just that it makes sense for your brain.
I get that. That makes sense.
As one person victimizes, one person is a victim, and they both learn in that instance.
But to go back to what I was going to respond to when you were saying the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yes, sir.
I've heard that and I believe that. That's how I believed the world for a long time. And I am to the point, this is just kind of an off topic, that there is people out there like the World Economic Forum who are saying these things consciously because they know the media attention, that they know how they want to appear to the people when they don't have good intention at all. I think their intention is evil. What do you guys think about that? I'm on this
So-
new trip where I'm not believing so much in just, oh, I made it to the top and I accidentally chose this. No, it's like they know damn well what they're doing and they're still doing it.
What makes something good or evil, though? Because they could believe wholeheartedly this is for the betterment of the human race. Where you might look at it and be like, what in the hell are they doing? They're doing it with good intentions.
Put yourself in their shoes. You're the top of the world. You're a world leader. People know about you, but not necessarily. You're just so powerful. You have your family, and you see your family. You see it growing. You're like, wow, I want to protect these people at all costs. How do I do that? Wow, I see the world is shit everywhere, right? There's wars constantly. There's different religions constantly. There's just all sorts of crazy shit. It's like, you know what might be the best thing to keep my family safe is to make everybody united under one flag. Okay, how do we go about that? See, they've got good intentions, but the way that they're preceding these intentions and creating their actions may not be the best good for the individual.
Just
I
like
want to believe that.
just like COVID, and this is what I just consider, like, literally just barely, but getting everyone united under one flag, controlling everyone, and basically shutting down the world so that nobody has an option to go to war or anything. Everyone just sit down and chill the hell out for a second.
But they know at this point that that's not good. They have to know. I'm 25-year-old bucket-ass kid that knows nothing, and I know that's not right.
Oh, they know people die, but it's not their family.
Yeah. So they're doing it for a good cause,
You guys are giving them too
but
much
it's
credit,
but
I
it's
think.
harm for the world.
No.
I think that I viewed the world so long for that way and just give everyone the bone, but I don't think it's that way anymore. I do think these people consciously have their agenda and they know the consequence, and it's for power and money and
I
evil.
Tend to agree with you too. Because
Yeah.
they're just straight evil people.
They're-
And they know it, and they get more power from it, so fuck everyone else.
I
Okay,
hate
but then
to
at
be
that point,
way.
what's the end goal
And
for them?
what's the incentive?
Power and money?
What's the incentive to power and money?
Power.
It's to make them and their family more untouchable.
Exactly. And that's not a good
I know.
goal, and they know that.
Right.
I think, yeah, and like what do they say? The ends justifies the means for them. It's absolutely. Well, they'll do whatever they got to do to make sure their family makes it, even if it kills 1,000,000 people.
Correct.
Whatever, so long as their 10 people live.
You think it comes down to their families? Because
Them and their families.
dynasty, yeah.
their
Their
dynasty.
yeah.
See, that I can see.
They're
all
kings
of
and
that.
queens without any other responsibility
that
Okay.
or
ties in.
accountability.
What would you do if you were one of them? Let's say you're Hillary Clinton. What are you gonna
I'm
do?
a baddie.
Yeah, but what would you do? Like, would
What-
you just give up your power?
I can't say because I'm not her. And if I was her right now in this very instant, I would try to make amends for the life that I've lived. You'd think you'd try.
Do they not make amends? They create these foundations all over the world in third world countries.
Oh, yeah.
The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundations, all this stuff.
They
But-
did some shitty
so-
To
things.
look good.
Yes, they create these things. It's great for tax write-offs. It's great to look good, but they also believe that they are doing good, and they are doing good in the world in some instances.
I don't think they believe they're doing good. I truly don't anymore. I wish I believed that, and I can 100% I do not believe that at all. I think these people, just like there's levels to goodness, and let's just say I'm right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
There's levels to it, and when you're on the good path, you know you're on it, and when you get to the top, you get the reward of just peace. I don't know what that reward is. I think that there's that same path down to hell, like you're saying, and there's got to be something to say for, okay, so what about the evilest of people?
What about them?
It doesn't always have to be that the road to hell was paved with good intentions. I think that there is those people who live in hell and like it there. And that's where that's where they're at. That's what I believe now. It's like there is that
So
place.
you've heard of the Columbine kids.
Yeah.
They were wanting to go out of this world and take as many people as they can with them
Mm-hmm.
because they viewed this world as evil, and they viewed themselves as, they were atheists or whatever. They're just like, okay, there's nothing good about this world. We're doing it good by taking everybody out of it.
Yeah.
Bill Gates, we need less population for the world to survive.
Yeah.
All these great leaders with their ideas that they think are good, causing terrible havoc. The, what was that called? Tuskegee experiment. They vaccinated a colony of black people with syphilis and let it play out over 30, 40 years to see what the effects were for the good of seeing how it did for the medical industry, right?
Yeah.
Hitler, World War II, they did so many medical advancements for the world.
It's true.
Unit 731.
Same shit. It's the exact same story.
Well, have you listened to Jordan Peterson says, why do we give him a good, like, attribute any kind of goodness to wanting to advance things? What if his goal was just chaos and suffering?
Yes.
Why do we attribute anything good to him?
And it could have been what I'm
Because
saying.
he did do amazing things at the end
Yeah,
of the day for the medical
Well, I'm
industry.
saying, but why would we attribute good things to him? He did terrible things. Why wouldn't we say he made great strides, but who knows if that was his goal? What if it was just chaos and making people
What if
hurt?
it was just the
How can
outcome?
Yeah. Like, you can do terrible things and something good comes out of it.
Right.
But that wasn't your intention. Why do we attribute good intentions to arguably one of the worst people that's ever lived on planet Earth? Like, what?
Yeah.
Well, Jordan
so-
Peterson says, I learned that from him. I think this
Yeah,
may be
that's-
where the seed was planted, that he said when you're looking at how the psychology of what someone wanted when they went forth with an action, it's not 100%, but sometimes assume that the outcome was exactly what they wanted.
Yeah, I think that's
That
the same
changed my
video we're
mind a
talking
little bit.
about.
It's like when people just have pure just rape, evil,
See the end
child.
result, assume the intention.
Exactly. And that was their intention, was pain and,
Maximal
to inflict
chaos.
maximum chaos.
Well, why was he getting rid of the Jews?
Don't know. Well,
Well-
slave labor, I think, absolutely was one of the things.
To create the Aryan race.
Yeah,
Also
hey,
that.
you
The
got to
master race of people.
Which in his eyes is good.
No,
So there's a difference between good and evil, obviously, and there's a difference between the morality of the situation and the facts of the situation, and the principles guiding that situation. I think at the base core, humanity has a seed of good in them, no matter who they are. However, what they choose to do with their actions, and you've all heard of the still small voice, your morality, your inner thoughts, whatever, it will tell you, hey, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. And some people ignore that
I agree with that.
for the ends, right? The ends do not justify the means. We all know that,
Yep.
but for some people, that's not the case in their world. But maybe they haven't had a good conversation about it.
Maybe. Super
Or-
interesting.
Grown up to think they're perfect.
Correct.
Told everything's great. You come from the most perfect line of people. Blah 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 blah. And then it goes to your head.
So what
You
would
might be
you
right.
what would you do to fix this?
To fix me?
Absolutely.
No, it's a good question.
Who was George
Me-
Washington other than a random citizen who
No, I-
decided to do great things?
Yeah, he wasn't
Because-
just some rando, but I do think anyone can be the guy. But
Right.
Well,
He was a general and all that jazz.
well,
before.
yeah,
You're literally letting this
War hero.
consume you. Like the world is evil and there's people that are consuming, let's just say America. So what's the solution to that? Instead of just looking purely at the negative, what's the solution?
Oh, I think that you're exactly right. And I also was just listening to the biblical series today, and Jordan Peterson says that the prophets are the people that come up with the solutions. The leaders of society are the solution solvers. So I'm not saying that I'm that guy, and I know it's not good to just sit there and talk about all the negatives with no solution whatsoever. I do believe that. I don't. I have talked to a few people. Uncle Garrett, when we were going to get the home, he was saying, who was the religious lady, the Pope or whatever that was, I don't know her name. Anyway, she said, because someone was asking her, how do you make a difference? And she was telling him, you make your family as perfect as your family can be, and you start there.
Isn't
I
that
know.
interesting how we've come full circle now?
Yeah.
It's all about taking care of your family and putting yourself first. Just like all these world leaders that are so evil, what are they doing? Putting their family and themselves first.
Yeah, but that's at the expense of everybody else.
Yeah, I don't think
It
that's
is
the way
indeed.
to look at it. I think that's a wrong way to look at it. I do. I think that way of looking at it doesn't, it's like it takes from the people that do get their family in perfect order and benefit society for it in a positive way. What about,
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
think you
saying it's
can-
moral at all. I'm saying that happens to be one of the core drivers for humanity.
is,
I'm not saying it's moral.
yeah. Oh, I agree with you that everybody's self-interested above everything else. Almost like
100%.
everyone I've ever met. That's how we're wired. Like, you live first, die last. You know what I mean?
So is it a surprise that humanity repeats itself over and over and over?
It's not a surprise at all.
My question is why does it seem like always the bad people get in power? I'm curious about that.
Because they're willing to do
I think
stuff
that-
you're not.
I think the power comes before the bad people.
Like power kind of taints it.
Yes, because think about it. Let's say you're Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos. You create this company. You're like, heck yeah, I'm going to do this for my family. I'm creating this thing. We're doing good. We're going to do good in the world, whatever. Going to benefit all of humanity. Suddenly it blows up. It's been, 20 years? If that. Fucking, you're on top of the world now. What the hell do you even do with that?
Like now I can change shit. So
You
now I'm
you
going to.
closely know maybe 100 people. I mean, in his case, it might be 1,000, right? Like, what are you even going to do with that? How do you even know what to do with that stupid amount of money and power?
I remember we had this conversation a while ago.
It's like, okay, I'm going to benefit the world as best I can. I'm going to hire this guy to go benefit the world over here and hire this guy. It's not even the world leaders. It's who they hire and who they put into power below them in each individual aspect. And it just so happens that they are each self-interested, and the system gets too big for the powers that be, and then it rolls out of control. Same with our government. It's not inherently evil. It's too big to stop.
I think there's a lot to be. I think you're not wrong. I do believe that, and I think once again there is a lot of credit given there. I used to view it that way too, where you get up there, the people I in my family, when I heard anything about Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, because I was a huge Elon Musk fan, still am, and I thought, you guys are pieces of shits. You're downplaying their success. You have no idea what it took for them to get there, the creative genius that it took to create these products, to manage this many teams at this level with this finances. And I still believe that there are just these people that should be rewarded at the highest level. And I also think there's what Jesse said too, that these people are willing to do things that other people are unwilling to do.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Elon Musk, you can look at him. Why didn't the power corrupt him? Well, maybe he wasn't
Hasn't
corrupted
it?
from the very beginning. I don't think it has. Maybe I'm wrong, and we'll see how this plays out. But in my opinion, I think he's as good as anyone that I can see. And
I like Elon Musk, by the way.
yeah, I like him a lot. I think that I 100% believe there are people who get into power and get corrupted by it. And I think the way that the systems have been set up for a little while now, I just tend to believe this, that there is kind of gatekeepers, whether we believe it or not. And Jeff Bezos and those guys, some of them have appealed more to their ideologies, and so they gave them money, whatnot, whereas maybe another guy that had different ideologies that weren't benefiting that family, or what, like you're saying, and they didn't give it to them. I tend to believe it's more like that than I want to believe that it is.
So why do you like Elon Musk?
Oh, it's just, I think that he's an absolute badass. I think he's just freaking awesome. He's about, I liked Elon when I was 18, when I read his book. It wasn't even his book. It was Ashley Vance or something like that wrote a book about him. I read that and I was just like, this guy's special. And
Literally.
yeah, a little bit on the scale, and then even
To his
more now
benefit.
with everything he talks about with freedom and whatnot. And Could he just be lying, pulling all of our chains just to get more attention and more consumer? Maybe. But it doesn't seem like the case to me. I think he's been this way for a long time. And he just seems good. And I think also he's not very well presented socially. I like that. I think a lot of people like that. The first time you see him, you're like, what the fuck is going on with this guy? How is he? And then the more you see, it's like, oh, there's nothing special. This guy ain't manipulating people in conversations. Like, he's got Asperger's. He'll just pause and he just tells the truth, it seems like. I like that.
Genuine when
Yeah.
you hear him talk.
So
Like he's not calculating every word. Like, I'm
Exactly.
sure he is, but
Yeah.
he doesn't seem like
That's
that.
why he pauses.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm
he's
saying, like,
searching for the truth.
Yeah.
it feels like a Jordan Peterson kind of pause where you're like, how do I put this tactfully?
Exactly.
Instead of
Yeah.
how do I make benefit me, you know?
So his principles and his moralities align with kind of what you would wish to be if you were in
Exactly.
his position.
Exactly.
Awesome. And it just so happens that as humans, we've all got opinions.
Totally.
And so that's how people get into power is they appeal to a certain number of the populace. There's so many people who support population control and all this other shit. There's a reason why they're doing it. They appeal to their base, right? And they keep that power. It just so happens that Elon more closely aligns with our moralities and principles.
Totally.
So it's interesting. I don't yet know that it is inherently evil. I can't say for sure.
What do you mean by that?
So I can't say for sure that these world leaders are inherently evil.
Okay.
Correct? Even in their actions, like from my standpoint, my moralities, absolutely. Some of the stuff they've done, evil.
Yeah.
Their intentions might be good. I don't know. I haven't talked to them.
I
but,
like where
but
your
I have
head's
seen
at.
their actions. Is there evil in this world? Yeah. You to know good, you must know evil. And so it's just it balances so good. The pendulum doth swing, we'll say.
It does.
Hard times create strong men create easy times create weak men. And it repeats.
I believe that.
We're not ending it here, guys.
That
Sorry.
was good. That was good.
I just disagree with evil and good in the world.
Okay.
How does that? What's good to some person is evil to another. What's evil to me is good for someone else.
I think that's a hard one to do, too, because there's a fundamental difference in beliefs. You think that, and I fundamentally believe there are things that are absolutely good and absolutely evil.
I agree.
Okay, what's something that's 100% good?
Life.
And what's something? Okay, life. Now what's something
Why?
that's 100% evil?
Rape.
I couldn't tell
Okay.
you why, but I
And
believe
why?
it.
Why?
Okay.
Because it's taking someone else's power.
Right, yeah, taking someone's free agency in
Yeah.
any way, I think, is an absolute evil.
So you're
So
taking
murder.
Murder, rape,
Yeah, rape is evil to me.
yeah, those things.
Well,
I think that's an absolute evil and an absolute good. And then I just think there's more
Unless
that
you-
I don't know, I'm sure. But
All right.
Got an absolute fucking animal brain and just be like, oh yeah, I just want to fuck. Like,
Yeah, there's someone out there that just wants 1,000,000 kids, so they rape as many people as they want.
wait,
well,
hold
they're
up.
animals.
Hold up.
They're
We
not
need-
humans at that point.
We need to ask.
Yes, they are.
I think you have to defend your belief because, okay, I'm just going to say, when I was 18, talked about this last time, worked at Village, started smoking weed, got depressed. While I was smoking weed, it opened up my mind, and it also made me much more open, I guess a trait of openness or whatever you'd say. I stopped believing that there was evil so much and just thought it was all trauma and everything. Like I explained how with Casey Boy, like I felt like if I was born in his shoes, I would have been him, and he was born in my shoes, he would have been me. That's just how I started seeing the world 100%. Now, no, I
But continue.
okay.
Yeah, continue.
Sorry.
Focus on this one thing.
So, what about your way of seeing the world has you believing that there isn't evil people who choose evil knowing damn good and well that it is evil, and it's not because it benefits their family or anything. It's to cause pain.
That's not what he said. He said there's no good and evil. He didn't say people choose evil things.
There just is, and this stuff works. Rape works for some people.
No, not quite.
See, that's
You missed the mark. Like there's no meaning to that.
that's what I'm saying. We won't come to terms on this because we think there's a fundamental difference in how we see the world. I think there's things that are right and wrong, and you think everything's shades of gray, basically.
Well,
Okay,
no,
what's
so
good for someone-
let me ask this, Jesse.
I've learned
someone that rapes someone, what deserves to happen to that person? The rapist. What?
Castrated or killed.
Why?
Why?
Justice
Because
has
they
to be
took away
served.
someone's free
Okay,
agency.
so then take
That
away
is an
their
ultimate-
free agency?
Yes.
Because
if
they
you're
took it
willing
from
to take
someone
someone
else.
else's free agency, you forfeit yours. I 100% believe that. It's like when you're coming to rob someone and then you get killed. That is, you came to rob me, so you decided that your life was worth more than my things, and then you forfeited your free agency.
Well, Logan, my question is 5 years from now, you have a kid, you got a wife. Someone breaks
Okay.
in, they take your kid, they tie him up, they torture him, they murder him.
Okay.
It was good for them.
It was good for them.
Yes, it was. 100%. Now, am I going to go hunt that person and take their life?
Why do you take their life?
Absolutely. For
Is it really
revenge.
Good for him.
Because that's going to be good for me. Now, is that
that's
person going to
putting
be scared
you at
shitless?
that's putting this. Jordan Peterson talks about this in the biblical series. That's putting the individual at the highest level of what's the word or virtue. The individual. Wait, that's what Christianity did. That was different than all the other religions before. Was they put God above everything, and those virtues what humans had to live by, and then even the kings and the queens and the leaders had to answer to God, which was the virtues that they created. Whereas that way of viewing it, I think, is a more primal way to live, where it puts the individual's wants at the pinnacle of it, and then there's nothing to answer for.
Yeah, every individual has is a god. Number one. Number two, I want to hear your opinion, not Jordan Peterson anymore.
Hold up. Jordan
Number three.
Peterson creates a lot of opinions for me. And
Okay,
I
which
think
is
about
fantastic.
It and I agree.
Which is
so that's why
fantastic.
don't come in and say I want to hear someone else's opinion. It's my opinion as well. I dislike
So-
that.
so that works for you.
Plug.
It's
Love's on,
like me
baby.
saying I don't want to hear your impact opinion. I want to hear your opinion. I want to hear part of my opinion has been informed by that.
Okay,
So when
perfect.
you're
perfect.
coming straight at what I believe. It's not
So,
constructive.
okay, and I love that. Back to your thing where you said if someone came in, fucking took my child, tied him up, tortured him, whatever. So on the other side, when I'm in heaven or when I'm with Source, okay,
Okay.
I'm going to make every person that came into my life, for example, the torturer, I made a contract with that person on the other side and said, okay, you love, say I'm the torturer. I love this person enough that I'm willing to go down to the world, take your child, do all these hurtful, horrible things with that person so that you can learn a lesson. So say it's your kid that I take, so that you can learn a lesson of forgiveness, love, and appreciation. Okay? Now we both go through that experience in the real world, pass away. Now we go back up to heaven or Source. Okay? Now we're going to reverse roles. You're going to take my child and torture and kill them, and so that I can learn love, forgiveness, and appreciation. So no matter what, we have signed a contract on the other side for this experience. So just like Hitler, when he killed millions of Jews, he signed a contract and said, I love each and every one of you guys enough that I'm willing to do this and go through literal hell on earth so that you can experience forgiveness for generations. Does that make sense? So then comes the thing, there is no good and evil, there just is. Because I chose that experience. If someone raped my sister, for example, okay, that's terrible in this world, but they signed a contract. And they love each other, their spirits love each other enough that they're willing to do that so that they can learn forgiveness.
Okay, my initial, very first immediate response is that's just going off a belief that not everyone lives by. You said that there's this contract that's signed. I maybe you're just playing it out to give an analogy of it, but it's like, well, I don't necessarily believe it's like that we sign these contracts for everything in our life. So if something happens to me, I don't need to go to the next life for justice to be served. I don't know what's waiting for me in the next life. So to be waiting for the next life of a thing that I don't know what's going to be there or not there, I want justice right now. And I think that's the only way to properly have a society, is that justice is served immediately upon them being incriminated. Obviously, it's what is it?
Innocent
Until proven guilty. But as soon as proven guilty, justice needs to be served right then. I think that we're wired that way naturally. I think if you do something wrong to someone, unless you're psychopathic or something, but like you get the guilt in your soul and you have to live with that. So I think God, that's my opinion, the way he wired us was that happens just naturally inside us. But it should also be reflective in society. If you do something wrong, which is the rules that society has agreed upon, which did not happen through happenstance, they've happened through thousands of years of people trying to figure it out, and they've come up with these rules, then if you do something against the rules, you have to suffer the consequence. So I think that I read Crime and Punishment from Dostoevsky recently.
Good one.
And it was really good. But I think that those ideologies actually kind of reflect in the killer in that, because he was doing it for his own good. And so that's just my only fear, is that I like the belief because it has compassion. I like that part about it. It has empathy for the other person, and it doesn't put you above everyone. I really like that. But I see the danger in it too, where it doesn't hold full responsibility for the evils of the world, and it also doesn't reward, in my opinion, properly the people who set out to do good every day, day in and day out, over and over, and create a life of doing good, and then they give that to the people. And on a side note, the Jordan Peterson thing with my own thoughts, it's like, if, in my opinion, Warren Buffett always says the smartest people in the world are people who don't fail from their own mistakes. They look at other people's failures and they learn from them. If there's a 60-year-old man who, in my opinion, has lived a damn good life and spent his entire life trying to find the meaning of life, and he's gifting me all these little nuggets and I don't have to go find them out on my own, and they resonate with my soul, it only makes sense that I'm going to try to take as many of those as I can. I think the smartest people in the world are the people that have done that from everyone, so that they didn't, you know what I mean?
That's
so.
why we read.
Exactly. So to say this voice or that voice or his voice or mine, I get where you're coming from, but if someone found a truth and gave it to me, got to give credit where it's due.
Amen.
So, what is the meaning to life for you?
Okay. I found out just recently, and it
Okay.
just came right from Jordan Peterson, so here we go. So I had this idea for a while that creation, I still believe this, but creation, so like if you're an electrician, you want someone to teach you to be an electrician that's done it for 40 years so you can learn all the basic things. If you are a master electrician, by the time you get to the end of your ropes, because just people die, so it actually just works out this way, that you're at the end of your life, which should be like when you've done it the longest, or when your IQ's still high enough, you should be at the point where you are now innovating the industry, because you've learned everything that you can and you're pushing past into the area of the unknown. So I've seen this with Elon Musk. I think that's one thing that he does that society rewards, which is he is creative. When I did solar, he funded his cousin or brother or someone who started Solar City. They're the ones who came up with the idea that you put solar panels on your house, swap it out for your electric payment, send that energy to the to the energy company, they buy it back at a 1-to-1 credit. He came up with that system. If he didn't come up with that system, who would have? Maybe they would have came up with another better one. That's genius. He got rewarded for coming up with the system. The creation is the hardest part. Applying what someone created is the easy part. It's much easier. So for a while there, I thought creation was the highest reward, and it is. But then I realized through listening to the biblical series what it is like intellectually, so I understand it now myself. And he talks about the yin and the yang, and he talks about chaos and order, and he says that the unanswered questions are found in chaos, which makes sense, because once someone goes into chaos and brings it back to order, now the answer is in order, and we can go grab it freely, and he gives it to society. this is what I think the meaning of life is. The people who go the deepest into the chaos to find the most furthest from answered questions and bring them back to society, though, that is the meaning of life. That is how humans are wired, where they get the reward. And society shows over and over that those people are rewarded the highest above everyone else, because it doesn't matter if it's in business, religion, anything. Hard work, like David Goggins. I started thinking about this a lot. It wasn't because he created something that none of us knew, in my opinion. It was that out of everyone that's in America, he went the deepest into chaos, pushed the body the furthest that anyone had ever pushed it, and documented it, and came back and told the story of what was possible. And we just rewarded him like he was God himself. Like, everyone follows him, everyone listens to him. Elon Musk did the same thing. He goes into chaos and manifests it into order. So
Bill Gates does the same thing.
He does.
The World Economic Forum does the same thing.
yes, I think
And they are rewarded with money and power.
they are rewarded. And I think that then they're at that level of chaos and order. Just to your point, there is levels even in that. There's a hierarchy even in that. And there's people who, I don't know what's at the very, very peak, but like whoever goes into chaos the most perfect way without corrupting themselves, the deepest possible, and comes back to order. Like, I guess I see it as like an upside down Christmas tree, where like maybe the person that went way deep into chaos but did it corrupted wise, it's like that. But as you get to like at the very top, the reward, like Jesus himself, what the Bible is made off, it's like it doesn't last 100 years. It lasts 2,000 years. The virtues that you give when you go that at the proper way, you know.
So it's so deep into chaos and came back with the order of it.
Yeah.
That it's lasted 2,000 years. Yeah.
The more the proper way, the more the accurate and good way, the longer it lasts. The longer society clings onto it until the next guy goes to the next level that deep and brings it back. Then it will establish the new virtues for the society until the next guy does it. It makes simple sense in my head when I think about it like that. I think that's a good way to start.
It's genius.
Yeah, I love that. Does it only work if they don't get corrupted? Is my question.
No, I don't think so at all. I think it's like I was saying. It's like a Christmas tree upside down. At the bottom,
be like the average person, right? They go a little bit into I'm learning how to do this, and then they come back.
Yeah,
learning this, but someone
it's
be
just
like
hierarchy. Even Soros, Schwab, all those guys, they still went into chaos and came back to order. It's just, I think that obviously the virtues aren't there. People don't hear what they've done and what they're giving to society and cling on to it and hope that their kids and themselves, they don't recommend to the damn family and stuff, hey, we want to be like him, you know? Why we talk about Elon Musk at the high level, Jordan Peterson, David Goggins. I'm sure that everyone's got their handful of people. It's the people that did it while maintaining their virtue where we aspire to be like, you know? So I think there's just levels to it.
Which I guess, not doing it the right way, which would be like someone like George Soros, where you would see he's got a lot of money and power, but you wouldn't, his social impact on like telling your kids to be like him is not there.
No.
But there's other people like Jordan Peterson who've journeyed farther. They don't have as much money and power, but they've come back uncorrupted.
Exactly.
And they have way more influence on everybody.
Totally. Mike Tyson talks about this. Floyd Mayweather did an interview, and Floyd Mayweather said that he was like greater than Muhammad Ali. So that happened. And then Mike Tyson, an interview came up to Mike Tyson and said, hey, did you see the interview of Floyd Mayweather? What do you think of it? And Mike Tyson says, Floyd was great and all, but greatness isn't just winning, have the winning record of 50-0. Greatness is when you go into the streets and people are surrounding you and praising you and everything. And that's what Muhammad Ali was for the people. And Floyd Mayweather is a piece of shit, right? Like, as far as I've heard, and even I've heard Logan Paul still hasn't been paid for their fight and things. He just plays dirty. Nobody looks up to him. Nobody has him posters, maybe some. But, like, everyone
no posters for his life, just for winning.
Yeah, exactly.
Not
Just
for
the
how
record.
hard he's worked. It's just you won.
Yeah, and why does Mike Tyson, he gets viewed higher than Floyd, even though his record was way worse than Floyd's. But it was just, in my opinion, that is a perfect example, too, of like his chaos that he was at, in my opinion, is probably the most I've ever seen a human in chaos. Like, if you watch the interviews of him around that time, he was a fucking psychopath. Like,
Which
he
one?
really was. Mike Tyson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna fucking rape you and shit to like, I swear to interviewers, and just, he was deep as fuck in there, probably to the darkest edges of it.
I bit someone's ear off, dude.
Yeah, he was crazy.
So is he uncorrupted,
No.
Mike Tyson?
No, and I think, well,
Well, I also think of
And
he's come back.
he's come
so
back a
he's
lot.
come back. Is Jordan
he-
Peterson uncorrupted?
I think everybody has evil in him.
Yeah. I guess it would be
He's corrupt.
levels. Like, how much do you come back corrupted? But it's such a esoteric thing. Like, how do you tell?
Well,
Can
you
you
tell
define
by
esoteric for me? I don't know.
Esoteric would be like imaginary, almost.
But
I want to
I-
say. I'll look up the definition.
'Kay.
Because I know it contextually, but I don't know the actual definition.
Thank you.
I don't even think that it has to be esoteric or whatever. I think it's we know. If I say it, you know what I mean. If I say how people look up to Jordan Peterson and how people look up to George Soros, we're five guys in this room. We don't know either of them personally. We don't know them. We've just heard things. But all of us have a feeling more towards Jordan Peterson, and all of us have it just is inside all of us. We've never met him,
So I've never looked up to Jordan Peterson or appreciated his work ever.
Okay.
Hold up. So esoteric, what the context in which I mean it,
I
it
can't
says
stand him.
only understood by people with special
know
and
that.
perhaps secret knowledge. So it would be, I don't know,
Wait, will you say that again?
Okay.
only meant to be understood by people with special or secret knowledge.
Does it have a sentence there for context? If it doesn't, that's fine.
We'll find one, I'm sure.
But I like learning new words all the time.
I like them too. I just forget them all, I feel like.
Oh, yeah, it'll happen.
So my question is, what do you not like? What do you not? I'm just genuinely curious, like,
Yeah, and I
because
have.
I've heard people not like him as much. I know people in my family haven't been turned on to him as much as I have, and I know I'm like on the extreme end. But what do you not like about him?
He's putting up on a pedestal, like to the point of no return.
But okay,
But that's because he's taught a lot of people and changed a lot of people's lives.
Well, I would say-
it's like a. Sorry, it's like a I don't know, a consequence of his actions.
Yeah, and that works for a lot of people because does he have a lot of amazing insights?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But does that work for everyone? Absolutely not.
No, but not everybody has to believe it.
Yeah. And so his work, I don't believe in. It doesn't make sense to me.
Sorry. Go
Now,
ahead.
does he have
what do you
great
mean by
values?
that? What do you mean? I don't even know if I believe that you're saying that, if you really believe what you're saying, because I don't think he, like the 12 rules for life, he doesn't say anything that's, I guess, what do you mean by that?
So his work, I appreciate his work.
Okay.
He does an amazing job at explaining and elaborating like how he's feeling, and in real world scenarios. He's accurate on a lot of them. But when people put him above, let's just say God, for example, because that's what a lot of people do with Jordan Peterson, I feel like that's corrupt in and of itself.
Yeah, I don't think that's probably the best thing to do. But I think you're right. People do that.
Yeah, and they do that for a lot of people. They did that for Hitler too. And so at that point, it has the potential to turn into an absolute power trip. To keep going and keep, like, I could go out and make amazing speeches if I wanted to and be like, here's this and this and this, and will I gain a large amount of followers and be put on that pedestal? Yes, but how is that really serving him? He dove into drugs, for example.
Not on purpose, right? It was because of anxiety and just got hooked on them, from what I understood.
Sounds like a great
he's-
excuse to me.
He's one area I would criticize him, but we are extremely not liked the world on this with home births and things like that, I would have, in my one critique, my biggest critique is he's probably too reliant on doctors and things. I know that his daughter was on like 50 pills a day until she changed her diet and she went to the Lion diet and fixed like autoimmune and all these issues she had. So I think that him being, in my opinion, such an intellectual, he was a professor at Harvard. He was probably around extremely intellectual doctors and things like that. He probably leaned more towards believing in what they said, and he was on antidepressants and things like that, which I think he's come back a lot on that, because I know guys like Joe Rogan talk way more about healthy diet, all that. So I do think that my biggest critique would be he was on all these pills and things, and
Which would be chaos for him.
totally.
And I get that. He went deep into chaos with addiction and depression, etc. And he came back 100%. But what makes his work and his beliefs so much better than any other world leader?
The way he articulates.
Because it's making people's lives actually better.
I think
That's what I would say.
There's not a single world leader I'd bet in the world that gets as many letters as he does that say you've changed my life.
Well, I think you have to play it out, because I know you're looking for more. It seems like you're looking for more of a real example, but it's hard to say because I don't know. George Soros knows what they teach as well, obviously, but I think a good way to play that out is if you took a society and you started it off brand new, like founding fathers did for us, and you had Jordan Peterson make the Constitution, and you had George Soros make the Constitution, you had Bill Gates make the Constitution. I don't know. It would be interesting to see. And then you let that play out in the simulation of life and see whose lasts the longest without corruption. Those are the highest virtues. So it seems like Jordan Peterson is closest to the highest virtues as far as anyone that I've heard talk about him.
So it resonates a bit. When you hear it, it feels right.
Yeah.
The things that he says.
So it makes you feel good because it resonates with what you believe.
A bit, yes. But also he introduces you to things that are hard, that you don't want to believe. Like there's malevolence in the world. I don't want to believe that. I want to believe everyone's
Wait,
good.
Malevolence? What is that?
evil.
Like evil.
It's just
Evil.
like,
Okay.
Conscious
would you-
evil.
yeah. But like he introduces you to that and tells you to look at the evil and stuff. I don't want to look at the evil, but it's something good and worth doing so that you can, like Noe said, there's no sour or sweet without the sour kind of stuff, you know? It just,
But that comes back to the core point. What makes something good or evil?
and this is
Can
the thing.
can Jordan Peterson explain that to me?
I don't know.
I don't know.
He might. He's pretty damn smart.
Depends on the context you're talking about, right? So you're talking about the individual, it's different. If you're talking about the world, it's different. You're talking about the overall picture, whether or not you believe in evolution, whether or not you believe in reincarnation, all this shit. It depends on the context you're talking about to decide what is good and evil. If you're looking at it from the ultimate, the highest perspective, you have an infinite spirit being, right? That's where you were attempting to come from with your contracts thing, right? Because we're all infinite. We all live forever. We're gonna make contracts. We're gonna learn, and that's how you progress eternally, right? Is you learn through every facet of life throughout your spirit being. But if you're talking about here on Earth with the moralities and the truth of matters and things like that, and I know that's why Jordan Peterson, Elon Musk, these great leaders who seem to be more moral, that's why they are so popular, especially with our group.
Definitely.
Is because they seem to strive for truth more than anyone else.
I think that's right.
Okay, and that resonates with me. They're shooting for truth.
Right.
That's all I've been
Absolutely.
saying.
And that's why they're idolized. So
Yeah,
someone
I
just
think-
had to say it in easy words.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you articulated
easy
that
to
way
talk
better.
words.
Because
with
I guess
everyone.
I view order as truth. Chaos is the unknown. Order is truth. But yeah.
And humans strive on the unknown or chaos.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's why Jordan Peterson is good too, is he tells you to make order from the chaos, right? That's a big thing that he says,
Yeah.
is turn the things that are bad about you, every little thing try and do something good every day. You know, make the world a little more orderly.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't know. There's so much.
And it comes down to the duality of your mind between good and evil. To understand one, you must have the other. And without knowing, and even as Jordan Peterson says, which I'm going to take his words for a second, or his context, if you cannot see yourself doing the ultimate evil, you are not capable of the ultimate good.
Yeah,
To be an integrated person.
So his teachings have value. I love that. Absolutely, 100% true.
So, interesting.
But what? I'm serious. I'm
but
curious.
what makes it evil? What makes something evil? And this is a question I've had for a long time. What makes something good or evil? Because it works for every individual differently.
And I told you context.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a damn good question. That's a tough.
And this is
question.
no like, I'm picking at you or something. I am so curious.
I
What
know.
makes something good or evil?
I've been there so damn long. Did I try to tell you? I'm not joking. I'm not spitting out my ass when I say something. It's like 7 years I was like that. And I really didn't start thinking as much till I was damn 18. So it's like most of my thing. I was trying to figure that out. For me, the chaos and order thing helped me with a lot of that. But I still couldn't. What is good and what is evil? I think it's hard to say, man.
I might be able
don't
to
know how
articulate this
it.
a little bit.
Okay, so let me ask this. And why does there have to be good or evil? Why can't there just be?
Don't know.
Why can't there just be?
And I'm telling
I
you,
wish.
it's because the way our brains are wired, the way our senses are wired. You know something by its opposite.
That is
On
there's
this
truth
earth,
to that.
for this particular body, there gets to be a good and an evil, a moral or an immoral, things like that. You start thinking of higher contexts, those get grayed out very heavily. Start thinking of lower contexts, and you go the opposite direction, right? But ultimately, it comes down to the way you perceive the world. You perceive the world black and white. There's gray in there, obviously, but you cannot know one without the other.
Right.
And so evil and good in itself could be evil. Evil in itself could be good. But we have chosen these things because of the religious and moral principle that life is good. It's an inherent good. It's beneficial to be alive. It's beneficial for your learning process. Okay?
Okay.
Let me play this out a little more. Knowing that life is an inherent good, or at least being alive progresses a spirit, right?
Okay.
Then that's the basis for all of this. If something progresses life, then it is inherently good and moral. If it degresses life, or takes away life, or takes away free agency of your body, then that is inherently evil. And it is all based on the idea that life is an inherent good.
I like that.
That
That's
was
pretty good.
Yeah, very well articulated.
Yeah,
that
that
made
was
it
great.
make
That's
way
that's
more
the way
sense.
that's the way most humans are.
Yeah,
Okay?
Okay.
You view it from the perspective of a god sending their angels down, their spirits down, whatever. Then you get into there is no good and evil, there is lessons. And you each learn your lessons. No matter what you experience in life, you will learn your lessons.
Yeah. Lessons and everything.
So you guys are coming from two separate contexts. That's the problem.
So we would be coming from a context of life on Earth, and you're
Correct.
coming from a context of life after Earth.
Okay. Yeah.
Life after Earth / eternity, like the overall
Okay,
picture.
so
I
it's-
don't know
yeah,
that
so-
on that stuff.
So bringing
Yeah.
this back to Earth,
Yeah.
good and evil, they're absolutely interchangeable. And it just like, let's say, fear and excitement, what's the difference between them? There's nothing. It's just a feeling.
Right.
I don't think that's
Yeah,
right.
I don't
I
agree.
think I think scientifically they can prove the difference between fear and excitement. It's two completely different chemicals. I don't know if you were saying that literally, isn't it?
I'm pretty positive.
Yeah.
No, I mean
Just
that.
like they can
What is
tell the difference between happy and sad tears?
Yeah.
There's difference.
Because one's a
what's the
negative feeling
feeling?
and the other is positive. That's
So,
how I see it.
The
I don't know how to articulate what the fuck I'm
The
saying.
difference
This is pissing me off.
the difference between nervousness and excitement within one's own body is going to be how you view it.
Right.
You,
'Cause
you view the world through your perspective, your senses, your brain.
Uh-huh.
That's why good and evil is created here on earth. That's why a Bible was created. That's why heaven and hell were created. All of this shit is based on the duality and we'll say the vehicle which your spirit uses to operate on this earth. Okay?
Yeah,
Does
but that's
that
just
make more sense?
kind of, but that's just to make people feel good.
Okay, wait.
I'm
what
doing
you saying?
good. This person is doing evil, so I'm better than them.
Right. That's one thing that can happen
And that doesn't
out
work
of
for
the
me.
infinite possibilities.
Dude, I think we were in the same boat for the longest time, man. I just couldn't wrap my head around it, and it was bugging the hell out of me because I felt like people were missing something. When they tried to explain it to me, it just wouldn't click, and you're fucked. I'm teasing. I'm joking. I'm just saying it took me a long time, but I think that there definitely is a difference. I want to say that. It's like there is a difference between good and evil, and it's not because even what you said, like nervousness and excitement is a perspective in the person. Maybe
Chemically, they're going to be different
chemically they're different.
because you choose it to be different up here.
Your perception maybe could feel it different, but you could probably easily, if they could control the chemicals in the brain, you could talk to someone consciously and say, you're going to feel fear now with the thing, and they'd feel fear.
Right.
And so you can, through perspective, you can not make nervous probably affect you the same way or whatever, but it still
right.
is the chemical of nerves or whatever, right?
Right.
Right.
And that's what these meat sacks are, it's a,
That sticks me out.
yeah. They're very complicated robots, essentially,
Yeah.
controlled by our souls, our spirits, our consciousness. That's all part of it, and it's all one, right?
Yeah.
So it's very interesting, and I know that we'll say the difference between good and evil is definitely based on context. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go there. And the level at which you're viewing it. And that's, yeah. Are there things that are inherently evil, inherently depreciating the human race, or inherently good, appreciating the human race, progressing it as far as this earth goes and these bodies go? Very well could be. But who am I to say that someone is doing evil when they feel like they are doing good?
Yes.
Except through my own experience saying, to me, that is evil. That is bad, and I will fight against that.
I think it comes back down to the same thing that I was saying with Christianity and what it did, how it took the greatest virtues of humans and put it at the top. It's not that way of looking at it. It's not like that. There are things that are good and are things that are bad. I just believe that now, because if there wasn't, why did we take the best of the good and put it up and the worst of the bad and put it down?
Because the ultimate value is the individual and life.
Life.
That's why.
Okay, I like that argument.
Because it progresses the human race.
I like that. But why do we? Okay, I like that.
Does that answer the question? Or not quite?
I forgot the question. Damn it.
You're saying
What was I saying?
why? Oh shit.
Yeah, I thought it too. I'm like, damn it.
Why did we put values,
Yes.
the best
thank
of
you.
human values at the
Thank
top?
you.
and
Oh
the
yeah,
worst at the bottom?
because you guys were saying that it's rude to me, which I get. There's perspective there, but as a society, why is it so damn easy for all of societies to agree what's good and bad? And I get that. Then you went with that, so I like that. But to answer your question, then, it's still that's the answer to the good and evil right there.
As far as the context of this earth and our bodies go, yes,
Yeah, exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah.
The context he was coming from was, I'm a creator, I'm sending souls down, they're learning lessons both ways. I don't necessarily view good and evil. That's a human thing, right?
Well, okay. But you play that out. You play it out. You're a god. I don't think you just, everyone's lesson learning. At least that's not how, the reason we know it's not that way is because we are wired to feel good when we do good and to feel bad when we do bad. That's how God set it up, because that's the way that it is. That's exactly the way that it is.
And what do these actions do for you? Like, when they make you feel good, what do they do for you as a person, as a soul?
Came to earlier, they progress you.
Yeah, they progress you.
They progress you.
Yeah.
And you learn from it.
So God set it up that way.
Right.
Yeah.
We're saying the same thing.
I'm agreeing with you. I was more talking to Logan to say, I guess if it's unanswered at this point, it's like it is that exactly.
Look, it comes down to this. We all believe we have a soul, right? And a spirit that's an eternal spirit, we'll say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eventually, you want to become unto like the source, or unto like a god, or whatever. To do that, you must see and know all. You get to experience all things. That's the good and the bad. Meaning, ultimately, from the view of a god, every experience is going to be a learning experience, and ultimately good as long as it is progression.
Yeah.
Okay? But from the view of the world and humanity and morals, we obviously decide that. We choose what is moral. And just like you said, from a young pup, we know what is moral and good or evil. Okay? Because it progresses the human race, or it detracts from it.
Yeah.
But it's two separate levels we're talking about where you're viewing it from, good and evil. Just depends where you're seeing it from. Does that make sense?
I guess I just disagree with that.
Okay.
I guess that's where we're at, because
Okay.
I think if I'm God or if I'm here sitting, it's the exact same. I don't think there's a difference.
If you're a god or you're just you sitting
Because
here, there's no
you
difference.
said that there was two perspectives, one from being the creator and one from being down here. I guess that's what I thought you were saying.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same exact fundamental battle there, here, everywhere.
Okay.
There is no, they need these lessons learned. It's like, and the way I see it, God put these virtues down here for us. We found them, or they were in us this whole time. I would argue that they've been in us.
Fair enough.
So he already put them in us. So we know right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't. So you do have to go through life and learn lessons. I guess I wouldn't think that God had to be a murderer to become a god. I guess that's where I end with that, because the way you were describing to me, it made it sound like you had to do all things to know all things.
Yes.
Whereas I don't really think you have to do all things to know all things.
So how can you know something without a shadow of a doubt, without experiencing it?
It can be put in you. I don't know. Love, we experience it, but who put it there? What was like? It's a good question, but I guess maybe I'm naive, but I'm like, I don't think God was a murderer before he became God. Maybe he was. But then he would have had to have been all evil.
And all
at
good.
one point.
He's everything.
To become the perfectly integrated being.
Well, why didn't Jordan Peterson have to kill people then to get to where he was?
Oh, he's in this short lifespan of 85 years out of eternity. Who knows?
Yeah, that's a good point.
We have a very limited view because we have 85 years that we know of.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a good point.
So, I feel like we're saying the same thing, just
Chiseling
different
at
context and just
exactly.
I
think we started with the slab and we're right there. It's just those last pieces, and those are the hardest pieces. That's what I feel like. But it is that, because those people who go that extra little bit and craft it perfectly took the chaos that much farther and put it into order and give that virtue to the people. It's those last questions right at the end that are like where people stop or whatever, that those people who don't stop and answer them and give them to people. So anyway, that's on a whole nother convo.
Chaos and order, good and evil.
Yeah.
They went the furthest into chaos to go the furthest good. They went the furthest into evil to become the furthest good.
That's a good point.
We're saying the exact same thing.
Oh,
We all are. We all
I'm
are.
not disagreeing with anyone. I'm comfortable. I'm just debating.
Oh.
What an interesting.
And I guess this would be the point of our conversation, is to better articulate ourselves, right? Is
Yeah.
to figure out
Wouldn't it be
exactly what we
nice?
would
And
believe.
now-
which we're progressing.
And now
Yeah.
to go back to where we were, am I saying it wouldn't absolutely tick me the fuck off if someone were to murder my child? And would I not go murder them in turn? Absolutely. Does that mean either party is right or wrong necessarily? I'm not the judge of that. That's for someone else to decide.
Yeah.
Fair
Life-
enough.
Because that would give
Let
you
God
progression.
choose.
That would give me progression.
To do what? Oh man, we're gonna get
So
right back
it-
into this.
It
We
would
gotta be
give you
careful.
progression to forgive and experience revenge. And it would give them progression to experience doing those things to a child. And they'd be like, oh, maybe this doesn't feel like it's progressing me. And then they get murdered and they get to experience being murdered.
Okay. We're gonna go back into.
Oh, fuck.
Let's not go too deep.
All right,
You're
all right.
starting off a nation. You're the leader. You're the founding fathers.
Okay?
You're gonna have that belief when you're creating the doctrine that society for thousands of years is gonna live off.
Oh, yes. But
I just don't like it.
you get to create laws because we're going from that everything is a learning experience, we'll say.
Yeah.
We're going from that to we're creating a society that's going to last 1,000 years. What do? We create laws that will ensure humanity continues to progress 1,000 years. Not necessarily their souls, but humanity in and of itself, and therefore life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness without infringing on another person's individual rights that were God-given, we'll say, their right to choice,
Yeah.
ultimately. That's how you create a society that lasts 1,000 years.
Okay.
It has to be by men for men, not by spirits for spirits.
Okay.
Right?
So then in that scenario,
Okay.
you create the rules. You have to at that point create the justice. Someone kills someone, they have to serve time for it, right?
Right.
So you're punishing the action, saying that it's wrong. It's not a learning experience.
Right, so it would come down to
It doesn't
And we're
work.
talking on two separate levels here again.
like
No,
you're
we're not.
Yes, we
I
are.
think we
It's
are.
the same level.
Talking
'Cause-
about humanity now. We're talking about humanity. These meat bags, these flesh bags, our earthly experience versus our spiritual progression of eternity. Okay?
So from what I
They
understand,
tie
is
into each other. Yeah, please.
it would
Jeff.
be if you're a human, your goal is to live a right and righteous life, as installed to you as maybe as God. He tells you to live a right and righteous life, a good life. And then as a God, if your goal is to create more gods, people that would know everything and have done everything, your goal would be to let people or to make people do stuff that's everything. So it would become, as a man, your goal is to live a right and righteous life. But as a God, it would be to create more gods, regardless of, because creating a God for a God, I'd assume, would be the highest good. So it's context.
I
to
couldn't
who
have
you
said
are.
it better.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's literally the answer I've been looking for.
But
on this earth, we are installed with right and wrong. What feels good to us, what does not feel good to us. On the other side, and if we're going to source, whether it's God or who knows, yeah, just like what you just said, it's perfect.
it just
Does that make
think-
sense? That's kind of what I've been saying.
I guess I just disagree with that.
yeah okay. See,
Really?
I
Oh,
disagree.
Okay.
At
I
what
also
part?
disagree. That
Okay.
I understand where you're coming from, but I disagree.
I disagree that God's. I don't think that they're separate. I think that the installment that's in us here is installment that's in us there. I don't think that God wants us. This is the way that plays out. All have to be killers, murderers, rapists, child sex trafficking, disgusting, everything, all things to become a God. That doesn't make sense to me.
See, I agree. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to me.
Why are
but I'm just saying I understand what you guys are trying to say.
Like
'Cause
I get now what you're saying, but my thing is like in this world right now, the people who are rewarded most is the chaos and order thing. But like I explained on the hierarchy, the chaos in the most highest virtue, not in the least. So how it is right now, I believe this. They say God made us in His image. So if God made us, and in this way I interpret that, everything in the way that He knew how things worked, why wouldn't we get to the next life? Would it be completely different? I think that it's the same exact. You don't have to, not all these experiences of the malevolence and evil, they are experiences, so I guess they're that. But the argument where we disagree is that to become a God, you would have had to have been Satan himself. I don't think that you have to be Satan himself to become God. I think the gods are the people that went the deepest into the chaos with the highest virtue and became God. And the people who didn't do that missed. And they become angels. They don't get it. That's how I believe it.
Okay, and that makes sense to me that God wouldn't create Earth in a way that doesn't match with his image. If he's going to put you in his image, why wouldn't he make the rest of the world in his image, his view? To me, that makes more sense.
If we're not rewarded down here for killing people in our soul, why would it be a part of the experience that needs to be had to become a God? It doesn't make sense.
That's fair.
I think we were debating two different things, actually. I get what you're saying now.
And then this is why we would talk. Is to better articulate ourselves.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about that?
So make it in very, very simple form, please.
So you don't have to become Satan to become God. And off your way of believing, in my opinion, what it sounded like, every evil teaches you an experience that now you have that if you wouldn't have done that, you wouldn't have got. So according to that way of thinking, to get to the highest high, you would have had to have been the lowest low.
Who was Satan?
He was a fallen angel. Doesn't mean he was a god.
He's God's right-hand man, right?
Yeah, but he wasn't a god.
But he's able to
Not
walk
yet.
into God's kingdom at any point.
Agree, but he wasn't God.
Not
He missed, even if it was just so close. That's the way I view that.
Right, I guess like you said, if they miss, they become an angel. You can be close to perfection, but not perfection.
He didn't.
So is
he
Satan
wasn't there.
evil? Is Satan the one creating the evil?
I don't know. I really would like to know that.
I don't think so, because there's free will. But
Well, why, if there's good, can't there be an evil source?
Why does there
Right, I'm
have to
not
be an
saying-
evil source?
Why
yeah,
does there have to be?
I'm just saying there is evil. But also, you're right. If there's good, why isn't there an evil source?
Just like as a kid, you went and put your hand on the stove and burned yourself. So you learn that lesson not to do it. Is that evil that happened?
Well, yeah.
or is
but
it
that's-
just a lesson?
Yeah, but guess what? Jordan Peterson says
Ah.
that you're gonna love
Okay, I'm
this.
listening.
You're
I'm
gonna love
listening.
this.
I'm here listening.
Humans can deal wonderfully with tragedy. A hurricane comes through, just fucking kills everybody. Katrina shit, everyone has to pay for it.
Why do you have to
Fucking
explain it
babies
like
in the
that?
streets, dude. People don't give a fuck. They just move on to the next day, no problem. That's how we're wired. Malevolence, which is when another human consciously does evil to you, that's when it fucks people up and breaks them.
So
There's
the
difference.
The difference between tragedy and malevolence, like conscious evil versus an act
Yeah.
of nature.
So
or God.
burning your hand is tragedy. When
Yeah.
someone rapes you is malevolence. Now, there's a difference between those. So I'm trying to explain that like life has tragedy, but
Yeah.
it doesn't fuck us up. It actually just teaches us malevolence when people do it to, which maybe is the source of the evil. Like why is there a difference in how humans can respond to those if there isn't a difference in the source that they come from? And so
Because the energy that they carry.
where does the energy come from?
Well, the vibration from source.
Okay. But then I'm not saying I believe this. I'm just saying the more I've started to believe, oh, yeah, there's God, the more it's just been seeing what happened with COVID and stuff. I'm like, okay, maybe there's a devil. Because if there's a God, why?
So
Where's
what comes
the
back
evil
to
coming
make
from then?
exactly?
Yeah,
And what makes the devil the devil? What?
I don't know.
Because is Satan and the devil the same thing?
Yeah, at that point.
Then how is someone so evil allowed into the most amazing, most incredible, most perfect man's house?
it would be
God's kingdom.
free will, right? From what I understand,
Okay,
everybody has
okay.
free will, which means you always have the option to go bad,
Yeah, and
right? Because you can do all the most amazing things in the world, but then one day something happens to you, some malevolence, let's say, like we were saying, and you just tank all the way the opposite way.
Okay.
So you went from being the highest good to the worst of the worst. And I think that's absolutely true the opposite way, too. You can hit rock bottom and realize it's bad, and then you can come all the way back, and armed with that experience, you can
that's a good point.
put out whatever the highest good. I'm just saying because there's free will,
Someone
can
can
change.
choose evil,
you can choose evil.
but
You can choose what works
So-
for that person and what doesn't work for another person.
I'm confused on what you're trying to say.
So you're saying there's good and evil, 100%. But something that's evil to us is not evil to another person.
That is where I disagree.
Yeah, see, this is
I
what
think
we were
it's
saying when we
implanted
first
in
started.
us.
It comes a fundamental difference in belief that there's good and evil, and there's shades of gray. Like, I know there's shades of gray, but I like to think that there are things that are absolute goods and absolute, like, true goods and true evils. It just depends on your belief.
You've heard the story with like alcohol, but you can have an abusive parent with two sons. They both get the fuck beat out of them. One grows up and chooses not to do it. The other grows up and chooses to do it. What that means is that they knew, even as a kid or as a human, that they knew whether they got it done to them was right or wrong. Because if they didn't know that, then how could someone who had that to them not just replicate it over and over forever? How could they even have the decision to choose to not do that because they didn't like it? So what I mean is, I don't think that, like, I'm more of the belief now that good and bad is in everyone, and we fucking know. You cannot run away from that shit. You fucking know. You don't even have to look far at all. Shh. Open the book. It's right there. Everything that's wrong about you, you know. Everything that's right about you, you feel good about. It's not... That's the thing I think. It's like, no, I don't think for some people it's good, for some it's bad. People can do bad things. Oh, fuck. It's a good point.
Please interject here. Give us something.
No, I'm just watching it.
Just give us
I
something.
love this.
Right, it's
This
a
is
nuanced.
It is very fun.
It's just
the thing
nuanced.
is, I agree with both of you guys because I can see your point, but I'm also on your level where I have that same understanding. It's like it is. It's just it is. That's just what it is. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not good at articulating things. That's why I haven't really interjected, but
So,
I agree with both.
That's why we need you to speak.
in the end, using your example with the two kids getting the fuck beat out of them, one chooses good, one chooses to continue that path, right? Why would the one choose good? It's because he knew the other one was bad. How did he know that one was bad? Because he experienced both. Why does the one continue the path? He may not know better.
No, I think he knows what happened to him.
And
And
who's
he
to be the
chooses
judge
to
of
do
that?
it. God will.
Okay.
And I don't think he's made it that complex to figure out that people know right and wrong. Even if it's happened to them, they know malevolence.
Well, apparently
believe.
it's very complicated if 5 people can't come to a conclusion.
I think it'd be complicated in the nuances of it, right? In the details. But as an overarching thing, I would think it's not so hard to tell the difference.
What I said was it's not complicated that people know what's right and wrong. That's different than what people act out.
Okay, even then, that's very complicated. Because is there right and wrong?
And we're back
We
to the
can't
same
repeat
thing.
this again.
Well-
It's
Yeah, we can't. Well, yeah, we can't go down that one again.
I think to me it's just I don't know. I think it comes down to, like you said, it's personal belief. To me, I think it's the universe. Something created us. We're down here. There's negative and there's positive. You need both. They're both an experience. You experience negative things, and some people do really bad things, and people do really good things. But you need both, and I don't believe the devil and God are separate. I think they're one thing. It's just
Oh,
the
shit.
universe.
That's new.
You know what I mean?
That's new.
That's what I think. That it's just the same thing, and we're playing it out. And if you do positive things, you get more positive things in your life, and you get closer to becoming happy and more, I don't know, godlike. And the more negative you get, you can go through all those things, and maybe it's a cycle, like through your whole spirit journey. Maybe you were a fucking terrible person to begin with, Maybe you were like a fucking Attila or whatever. And through your life cycles of these little meat bags that our souls just pop into, we have these experiences that get us closer to becoming, I don't know, full circle of like we've experienced all this, and maybe we're getting closer to
It could be
knowing
like that.
all of it. You know what I mean? That I don't know. That's just how I see it. But in my life personally, I want to do the most good that I can because I've been to a place where I've hated everybody and I've definitely wanted everybody to fucking die on this planet. I've been there. You know, I've had thoughts of absolutely going out and just killing people. But now from seeing that to where I am now, I'm like, there's no way I could ever think about doing that because I know that's fucking wrong.
For sure.
Because I've been there and it sucks and it's hell to live in that place in your head.
that.
You know what I mean? And now loving more people and coming and being around positive things that are creative. Like you said, there, you know.
You know.
Yeah.
So-
That's how you create a god.
Yeah.
So what if at the end of the day, there's no good or evil, you know, whatever that is, it's being a giver versus being a taker.
I guess.
Because that feels good to me. That resonates with me. Milo, you're hooked to my phone. 1 second.
But it's also made me appreciate things that I don't know if other people have appreciated, you know, because I've been there.
Oh, yeah.
Like in hell. So now I'm like I don't know. I see myself as progressing. So I don't know. I feel like I enjoy it more.
I believe that.
Personally.
1,000,000%.
Like I appreciate smaller things a lot than a lot of people. Not saying I'm like above or like, oh, I've got this way better experience, but like, I don't know. There's some things where I'm like, holy shit, that's a leaf. That is fucking cool.
Yeah.
And other people just walk by it and pass it, you know?
Totally.
I don't know.
So you've come from utter chaos to peace.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say complete peace, but I'm getting there. You know what I mean?
But you're making
You were
that
deep
journey.
in chaos.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I believe that.
And I feel like that's made me better. And I think what they're saying with the Satan thing is maybe he's got to experience that journey in his soul journey, you know, to become full circle. But it's just a difference in opinion at that point, and what you truly believe is source or
Yeah.
God or
Yeah. Depends on what you believe is
Yeah.
necessary.
really.
It's
what
a
it comes down to.
very it makes a lot of sense when I think that. I used to think that to become a god, the last requirement to become a god was become a Jesus, which on that method of thinking, maybe the devil comes right before being a Jesus. You have to be the devil, then you come back to the good, and then God says, I'm going to sacrifice you to this earth. If you succeed, then you become a god on the next one. That like made sense to me.
And that may be.
And that might be.
And remember when they were killing him, the Romans, he said, forgive them. They know not what they do because they haven't got that knowledge yet.
Yeah.
They don't know.
That's a good
they
point.
didn't know.
It's
Like
That's
they're
a
not
good
evil
point.
people. They didn't know. You know? And it's not giving anyone a pass. Like
Yeah.
obviously if somebody kills, you know, like he said, if somebody kills my family member, I'm gonna hunt them fucking down.
Absolutely.
they're gonna die.
yeah.
But that's the experience that I've chosen to live.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Very
But-
We could just go forever.
Yeah, Mo,
exactly.
We got to talk more about you because you're here.
That was
We're here
fun.
for you. That was so damn fun.
What time is it?
Hold
So-
on. Yeah, let me just look and see because
We're deep. We're fucking 2 hours in, I'll bet you.
Are we? Holy
I'll
shit.
bet you we're close.
We're close.
20 minutes away from 2 hours.
Well, dude,
Yeah.
we were trying to fucking answer the meaning of life.
yeah, I was gonna say
Fuck's
this is
sakes.
the deepest we've
And
got, I
good
feel
and
like.
evil
Yeah.
in one go.
Yeah, with 5 guys, I'd say we did pretty well.
Yeah, that was
You know?
beautiful.
So your goals. Let's go with your goals. A year from now. What are you
Okay.
thinking?
That's a damn good question. I'm in the
Okay.
middle of trying to figure that out.
Okay.
I'm also at this point where I set a goal to get a home, and I was fired up working really hard because I was being pulled by my work instead of pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just barely pretty much did that. Like they accept the offer, we're in the process, everything's going through, it's all good. It's really, I've always heard people say, set goals, set goals, set goals. And I have always went to the paper and wrote down goals and never was able to follow them. And I've had a really hard time with that. And this last experience finally made me realize why setting goals is so important. And I need to figure out what my next goal is. I don't know what it is.
So why is setting goals important?
Okay, this is my this is my experience right now.
Mm-hmm.
I need to set a goal every time I finish a goal that consciously forces me to go into chaos to get the answers to bring them back to order. And so when I'm not doing that, I get fucked up in my head fast. I just barely got home. I relapsed into video games for a week, just last week. I almost didn't want to come on this podcast because I'm like, this is kind of the worst fucking time for me to come on because I'm just coming out of it. I did so good since November 1st all the way till just that last week. But when my goal was hit and stuff and I had nothing pulling me, I was making decent money the last month and stuff. So it wasn't like the money was driving me so much. And that's really taught me that I need to set a goal, but the goal has to be meaningful and it has to be far enough out there that it pushes me.
Like a SMART goal? Specific, measurable, attainable, or like reasonable and time bound?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that's like a simple way to put it to tell someone, but I think if someone would have told me that 5 years ago, it still would have meant fucking nothing. I think for me, it's like just this feeling now of, okay, so lately I've been really combating this problem because Jordan Peterson says, do what is meaningful, not as what is expedient. And I think about my work and I'm like, fuck, I'm doing what is expedient.
Wait, what is that?
Doing expedient is what's like easy.
What's easy?
What's easy.
Okay.
With my work, because in the beginning it was meaningful, I think more, but at this point it's more of what's expedient.
By the way, I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
No, I agree with that. I do agree with that. I think probably sometimes if you're doing what's meaningful, it'll be easier. You know what I mean? If that's what you're saying. But anyway, so I'm trying to figure out what my next goal is. I've been thinking a lot. I've been trying to ask myself what is something that I'm passionate about that would be the most meaningful thing that I could do for myself, my family, and the people around. Mm-hmm. And the answer I keep getting is nutrition. Because so many people are fucked up right now that it's like, even my wife is having issues. My son had gastroschisis, so I know his stomach's not all the way right. So, like, what if I was that guy that knew all these answers to these questions to how the body works, digested food, enzymes, all this, like the homeopathic stuff, because that's the stuff I like and more inclined to. And my brother Hoss, his wife Rachel, they have their place over in Draper, I think it is right around there, and they're 6 months out right now from when you try to get in.
They're awesome.
Yeah, they're insane, and I like that stuff, and they heal people. My wife puked every month. She went there. They told her to stop eating pork. She stopped eating pork. She doesn't puke like that anymore. It worked. It's not no bullshit. So maybe that's it. I'm trying to figure out. I don't know what the hell to do. We'll see. Yeah. Hopefully something comes. If not, I'm also kind of like, fuck it. That's the answer I keep getting. I need to start on the path, and then if I get to a year and hate it, then I can stop and ask again. But, that's kind of where I'm at.
I love setting goals so I can see my progression.
Yeah.
So I can check that box. Yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
And it boosts you forward to the next one.
It definitely does.
Why do you feel the need to go into absolute chaos, though? Why can't it just be progression?
Are we about to go for another hour?
It's just like, why? Because is chaos comfortable? I know chaos sucks for me.
It's completely uncomfortable, but to me, dude, this is all on paper, so we'll see what I actually do. What I actually do will probably not do what I think I should do. Hopefully not. But in my head, knowing now what I think I know, if I went the deepest into chaos and came back, by the time I was dead, right before I died, I'd be the happiest that I possibly could be and the most fulfilled. And I'm starting to get on this belief that the only way to fucking live is to do that. It's like, it's the only thing that gives us meaning, it feels like. Well, yeah, it's the growth and giving are the two things according to Tony Robbins, but growth is chaos to order, and then giving is whatever the fuck you learned when you were there to give it. So it accomplishes both of those at the same time.
So chaos would be like going into the unknown, right? Like you wanted to go into nutrition or whatever.
Exactly.
You're going into the unknowns of nutrition. It doesn't necessarily have to be something malevolent. It's just you're going into something that you don't know.
Yeah.
And that's chaotic to you because you're in an environment that you know nothing about.
And then
you bring it back and you organize it and you put it into order.
Yep.
And then you use it.
And then the goal setting would be where you'd get the highest reward is like, maybe I figured out nutrition for a while, but then my goal eventually got to the point, maybe 20 years in, that I wanted to have 10 million subscribers on YouTube or something, like just some ludicrous
Right.
goal that you shoot for at the very peak. That's like that, and a lot of them listen. It's like you can just keep going deeper and coming back and setting the goal higher and higher until that's doing what those people do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That we look up to.
Chaos, the
I
way
like that.
Jordan Peterson speaks about it, is more like like they said, you're diving into the unknown. You're learning. You're taking on new experiences.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily pain.
It's not actual like chaos. Fucking everything's awry. It's like
Okay. So
you're learning. You're getting
It's-
a little uncomfortable
It's uncomfortableness.
to progress yourself.
gotcha.
Yeah.
It's just a logical way to say what we all know, which is when you do something hard, you get reward. Pretty much,
Yeah.
When you go the uncomfortable, you get the reward for doing that.
Absolutely.
It's just I do get mixed up in my head a lot of times, and it's nice to know it intellectually, where you can write it down on paper and fall back on it and be like, oh, this is what it was. Because most of my life I've known, like, if you do the hard thing, you get the reward, but sometimes you can get confused, and it's nice to have it intellectually make sense to me.
Fair enough.
I love that.
Heck yeah. And Mo, do we have any parting advice for the listeners?
Damn, dude.
As you are, unless you guys have more. I apologize. I didn't mean to cut it
Dude,
off.
we could damn near make a full new podcast
I know.
next week. Just like,
Truly. I don't have anything this time.
That's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
there is one thing you said you were going to talk about with me, but you said you wanted to do it on the podcast, that you had a question.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
You answered.
So, I was telling Zave how I always had the feeling that I was going to die early, and I didn't know whether that was because of me constantly pursuing and preparing for end of life, where I was like, okay, if I die, then everyone will be covered, or if I have those feelings because I'm going to die early. And then you gave a beautiful answer that I wanted the podcast to hear.
okay, perfect. So, this was shocking because I've had the same issue, just not referring to death. And the answer came to me last night, but what it is basically, I have my life on a straight and narrow. I know, like, my life is peaceful, and I don't have problems. So essentially, what's something that you have no control over and is a guaranteed? Death. So what's something that you can never take full ownership of? So then, if you have everything else like made up and on the straight and narrow, then that's a perfect problem to have, because you can never attain control over it.
Can't solve that problem.
Because you can't solve that problem, yes. So instead, so for you, if you experience that same thing, you're going to make that your problem because you cannot solve it. Am I putting it in the perfect way?
And so there's always something to strive for that you can't quite reach,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
essentially.
I like it.
Very interesting. So it's like, that's an interesting dilemma there. Put me in.
Yeah. And I experienced this because and this was mainly to our extended family, I disagree with a lot of the things that are performed by them and how they live their life. So then I was like, well, that's something I can't control. It doesn't make sense to me, and I'll never get the answer to. So I'm going to make that my main problem in life, because I'll never be able to attain the solution.
Right.
So what a perfect thing, something that you can never attain the solution to. You're guaranteed to die. I'm guaranteed to die. So what a perfect problem to have forever.
Yeah.
Instead of just letting go and being.
Yeah. I like it.
So,
All right.
So y'all don't forget to live.
yeah, live in the moment.
Be in the moment.
Don't be pursuing death.
Yeah, because then you're going to
Get you
make it
mistress.
happen.
Yep. We create that which we fear. What does Uruguay say? Kung Fu Panda. 1 second. I'll think about it. You guys just continue.
Wait, is Uruguay the
Feeling it?
turtle or the
Yeah.
little dude?
He's fucking wise. Oh. One often meets their destiny on the road they take to avoid it.
Please say it in Uruguay form.
One often meets their destiny on the road they take to avoid it.
And you're shaking just like
I'm shaking. I gotta channel the Uruguay.
Great.
That was good.
Either
All
way,
right.
amazing. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for
Yes,
coming
thanks
on.
for having me,
that
guys.
was-
That was
that
fun
fun.
as fuck.
Probably
That was
one,
good.
one of the most interesting podcasts
Yeah.
we've had.
That was fun.
It has to be. Yeah, that was just perfect.
All right, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.